The story begins in ancient times, as written in a book. Back then, England was ruled by a wise king named Uther Pendragon. But after the king passed away without an heir, the kingdom slowly fell apart due to civil wars fought over the throne. Merlin, the legendary wizard, enchanted the magical sword Excalibur to stop the wars. Only the true heir, Arthur, was capable of wielding Excalibur, using it to unite the kingdom and turn enemies into allies. However, behind his success, Arthur had a great enemy, his half-sister Morgana, who was obsessed with possessing Excalibur. She didn't hesitate to use any means necessary to get it. Fortunately, Arthur managed to stop her by binding Morgana deep within the earth. Several centuries later, as Alex was on his way to school, he saw his friend Betters being bullied. The bullies, named Lance and Kay, pushed Alex into a fight with Lance. As a result, he was sent to the principal's office. The next day, when Alex was about to go home, Lance and Kay tried to gang up on him. Alex ran to escape but accidentally stumbled into a construction site. Unfortunately, Lance and Kay found him, cornering Alex until he fell down. The two quickly fled. When Alex regained consciousness, he suddenly saw a sword. Instinctively, he pulled it out and took it home. Meanwhile, Morgana had grown stronger because the wielder of Excalibur had been missing for a long time, and at that moment, Morgana sensed that someone had claimed the sword. She used her powers to track down its location. At the same time, Alex and Betters searched for the truth about the sword using Google. It turned out that the sword was indeed Excalibur, the relic of King Arthur of Tintagel. Alex suddenly remembered a book his father had given him, so he rushed to get it. The book revealed that Tintagel was the birthplace of King Arthur. The next day, Merlin, the legendary wizard, appeared out of the stones, wearing no pants. On the way, he hypnotized a police officer with a clap of his hands to take him to Alex's school. When arrived, he clapped his hands again to snap the officer out of the trance, then transformed into a bird. At school, Merlin disguised himself as a new student. He did this to keep an eye on and assist Alex in his daily life. When Merlin learned that an eclipse would occur in 4 days, he panicked as if possessed. Afterward, Merlin approached Alex and warned him that he must defeat Morgana before the eclipse arrived. Hearing this, Alex and Betters were terrified. Alex considered returning the sword to where he found it. That night, while Alex was sound asleep, he suddenly heard strange noises outside his window. When he looked, he saw a monster emerging from the ground. Panicking, he tried to call for his mother, but strangely, Alex couldn't find her. Terrified, he noticed the sword glowing and quickly grabbed it to fight the monster. However, without any combat experience, Alex was helpless. Luckily, Merlin arrived to save him. After the incident, Merlin invited Alex to meet the next day at a certain place. Morgana, learning that Merlin had saved Alex, became furious and ordered her soldiers to kill them immediately. The following day, Alex explained what he had seen the previous night to his mother. But since she didn't believe him, Alex left and asked Betters to accompany him to meet Merlin. Merlin explained that the mortal world would emerge after dark and would be incredibly dangerous, with many threats until Excalibur was fully restored. Alex, who found this unbelievable, tried to return the sword to Merlin. Merlin, however, refused and revealed his true form, showing them the world's destruction. Given the choice to save the kingdom, the two then decided to return to the place where they found the sword and compare it with the story in Alex's book. After that, Alex decided to go to Tintagel to meet his father and find the entrance to the underground prison. Just as they were about to leave, Lance and Kay showed up, wanting to borrow Alex's sword. Alex planted the sword in the ground, allowing them to try and pull it out themselves. Suddenly, the sword glowed, signaling that the mortal world would soon begin. Alex pulled out the sword, but Lance quickly snatched it from him. As a result, a monster on horseback suddenly appeared and attacked them. Seeing this, Alex rushed to help his friends. They struggled to escape the pursuing horsemen. With great difficulty, they finally managed to defeat the horsemen. Afterward, Alex explained to Lance what had just happened. At that moment, Alex realized that the 4 of them were destined to be allies, a fact clearly stated in Alex's book. However, it seemed that Lance and Kay were planning something to take Excalibur from Alex. The next day, Merlin accompanied them on their journey to Tintagel. He revealed the entrance to Morgana's underground prison. Merlin also guided them as potential knights and taught them the 3 codes of knighthood they must follow. First, respect those you love. Second, do not act out of malice. And third, always be honest. Merlin led the way using shortcuts meant only for knights. He clapped his hands, and suddenly a portal to another world opened. The people who saw this were amazed. When they arrived at a certain place, Merlin duplicated Excalibur to train them. He also enchanted the surrounding trees to train the knights to fight better. While they were seriously training, something terrible suddenly happened. Due to Morgana's evil influence, the trees became hostile. Alex and Betters were captured and nearly buried alive. Lance, seeing this, didn't hesitate and quickly grabbed Alex's Excalibur. Meanwhile, Merlin, hearing their screams, quickly came to their aid, destroying the evil trees with a clap of his hands, but then fainted from exhaustion. Alex, having lost his sword, chased after Lance to retrieve Excalibur. Because of Lance's selfishness, the two ended up fighting fiercely, causing the sword to break. Lance and Kay finally felt guilty and apologized. Alex then looked at his book and pleaded with the Lady of the Lake, the guardian of Excalibur, to restore his sword. Luckily, his prayer was answered, and the sword reappeared, fully restored, bringing them together to defeat all their enemies. As they continued their journey, they encountered a group of horsemen, but when night fell, the horsemen suddenly disappeared. An army of monsters created by Morgana emerged to chase them down. They began to work together to protect and defend each other, so they could survive the dangers pursuing them. Eventually, Alex led his friends to jump into a chasm, which turned out to have steps that protected them from the monsters chasing them. The monsters fell into the chasm. The next day, Alex planned to visit his aunt so he could meet his biological father. But his visit was in vain, as his aunt revealed the truth that his father was a gambler who never returned. Alex couldn't believe it, so he showed her the book his father had given him. But it turned out, the book was one his mother had bought for Alex, so he could remember his father fondly. Hearing this, Alex was disappointed and immediately left, throwing the book away. Seeing Alex's sadness, Betters tried to cheer him up with a coin-doubling trick. Soon after, Merlin came over with the book, saying that Excalibur doesn't choose its owner based on lineage, but by heart and mind. Hearing this, Alex's leadership spirit ignited. He and his friends quickly devised a plan to defeat Morgana in her castle. Lance and Kay were tasked with fetching horses, while Alex and Betters went somewhere to double their money so they could buy provisions. They bravely approached Morgana's castle. In front of the gate, Excalibur glowed in Alex's hand, signaling that the castle lay beneath the gate. He quickly planted the sword, opening the castle gates. Once inside, they got lost, not knowing which way to go. Luckily, Alex's Excalibur showed them the way to Morgana's lair. Soon they were attacked by a living vine controlled by Morgana. Alex, undeterred, rushed towards Morgana, but to his surprise, Morgana transformed into a terrifying creature and attacked Alex with a fire breath. Alex pretended to surrender his sword to deceive Morgana. Suddenly, Alex thrust Excalibur into Morgana. Alex's friends were freed. They quickly fled the castle as it began to crumble. Afterward, they went to a lake to return Excalibur and then headed home. The next morning, Alex was startled by Merlin, who revealed that he hadn't actually killed Morgana, only wounded her. Now Morgana was furious and planned to unleash her entire army to kill Alex and his friends. He reminded Alex of the first code of chivalry: respect those you love. At that moment, Alex immediately apologized to his mother and explained everything that had happened recently. Alex also proved the truth about Excalibur to his mother by showing the presence of the sword in the bathtub and asked for her permission to resolve the situation. Then, Alex gathered his friends to devise a plan to rally the school to fight Morgana. Thanks to Merlin's help, they quickly gathered an army to fight Morgana. With armor and weapons duplicated by Merlin and Betters, they hurriedly set traps and didn't forget to practice sword fighting together. Merlin revealed that there was one way to defeat Morgana: by binding and trapping her in a dimensional vortex portal. As the eclipse began, Morgana's army appeared and launched an assault on the school. A fierce battle unfolded between Morgana's forces and the knights led by Alex and his friends. Alex and his comrades fought valiantly, but as Morgana's troops continued to pour in, Alex ordered his forces to retreat temporarily. Meanwhile, Morgana found Merlin and attacked him directly. She transformed into a monstrous creature and began assaulting everyone. Alex, witnessing this, quickly lured Morgana into the trap they had set. At the same time, Betters began executing his plan to distract Morgana, giving Lance and Kay the opportunity to get close enough to strike her. Their plan worked smoothly. However, Merlin was hit by Morgana's fire attack, rendering him unable to continue fighting. Alex quickly rushed to him and gave Merlin a magic potion. Instantly, Merlin revived and activated the dimensional vortex portal. Seeing an opening, Alex swiftly beheaded Morgana, ending her reign of terror once and for all. With Morgana defeated, Alex and his friends were victorious. Peace was finally restored to the kingdom. The next day, Alex, Betters, Lance, and Kay said their farewells to Merlin. Merlin reminded them all not to follow in the footsteps of Alex's father. Alex then tossed Excalibur back into the lake, ensuring it would be well guarded by the Lady of the Lake. And with that, the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.